I'd like to bring the special town meeting of February 17th, 2026 to order. Are there any nominations for town meeting moderator?
I'd like to nominate Jonathan Ramsey for town meeting moderator.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. All in favor of Jonathan Ramsey being moderator of the town meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there any nominations for town meeting clerk?
I nominate Sue King to be the town meeting clerk.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations? Seeing none, all in favor of Sue King being town meeting clerk, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. I'd like to read the warning and notice of the special town meeting. The legal voters of Town of Watertown and those entitled to vote in the town meeting are hereby warned and notified that the special town meeting of Tuesday, February 17th, 2026 at 6:45 PM at the Watertown Town Hall, Town Council Chambers to consider an appropriation of $1,772,148.20 from the general fund for the communication upgrades project to be allocated to account 262.503.20.511.0000.9062, utilizing funds received through Johanna Hayes Communications Upgrade Grant. A link to view the special town meeting will be posted on the Town of Watertown website at www.watertownct.org on the date of the meeting. Anyone wishing to vote at the special town meeting must attend in person. Anyone wishing to provide comments for the meeting may do so by emailing towncouncil@watertownct.org or by mail to Watertown, Town Council 61 Echo Lake Road, Watertown, Connecticut 06795, and must be received by 2 PM Tuesday, February 17th, 2026. If you require a translator or accommodations for a hearing impaired or other accommodation, contact the Town of Watertown at 860-945-5255. Dated at Watertown, Connecticut, this 9th day of February 2026. Signed, Mark A. Ramo, Town Manager. There's also a return of warning and notice that I won't read, but I'll add to the minutes of the meeting. And do you have a motion?
I move to authorize an appropriation of $1,772,148.20 from the general fund for the communications upgrade project to be allocated to account number 262.50320.511.0000.9062. These funds have been received through the Johanna Hayes Communications Upgrade Grant.
Is there a second?
Second.
I'll start with the public. Is there any questions or comments from the public? Anyone from the town council? We've discussed in the past, but it's towers and radios and other things related. Sure. Mark, do you want to do that or
Josh is there.
or
I'm going to ask
Or
the police chief to kind of
Yep.
give a more detailed.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of Town Council, members of the public. This is payment number 2 of our contract with Motorola Solutions. We have a contract with Motorola in the amount of give me one moment. $4,536,763.83 to fully upgrade the police and fire communication systems. This is for all new radio equipment at all of our tower sites, as well as the police department's dispatch center and new radios for the police department, fire department, and public works.
And once again, this is all money from a grant that we received. Are there any further questions or comments? And just a reminder to the public, this vote is Anyone in the room can vote on this. It's not just the town council. Seeing no other questions, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Attorney Paul Jessel by the Republican majority on the town council. From the public's perspective, it appears that Mr. Jessel has been given a free pass despite the significant legal and financial consequences his actions have imposed on this town. Mr. Jessel has shown no public remorse for the $34 million lawsuit with Waterbury, a lawsuit that resulted from a legal strategy he continues to defend, despite losing 3 times. In any other professional setting, repeated failure of this magnitude would prompt serious review, if not immediate removal. Residents deserve to know why that standard does not apply here. Now, Mr. Jessel is recommending a forensic audit of the Water and Sewer Authority at a time when WSA is facing a severe financial deficit and operational strain. Meanwhile, residents are still waiting for their water and sewer bills reflecting the newly approved rates. Why was WSA been unable to calculate and issue those bills in a timely manner? Why are ratepayers left in uncertainty while additional audits and consultants are proposed? These circumstances raise further concerns that must be addressed transparently. Is there an effort underway to use marketing or outside services to make WSA appear healthier than it actually is, potentially in preparation for a sale? If so, does the town manager and town council fully understand that transferring ownership to a private utility would almost certainly result in even higher rates, as a new owner would need to recover the purchase price, address existing deficits, and generate profit? Additionally, to ensure public trust and ethical governance, any town council member who has retained Mr. Jessel for personal legal representation should formally disclose that relationship and recuse themselves from any discussions, evaluations, or votes regarding his appointment, compensation, or continued retention. The appearance of conflict of interest only further erodes public confidence in the council's decision-making. These are serious fiscal and governance issues, not political talking points. Residents deserve honest explanations, clear accountability, and decisions made in the best long-term interest of the community, not silence, deflection, or blind loyalty. Until these questions are answered directly, public confidence in this council's judgment and oversight will continue to erode. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Frankie Popolowski.
Frankie Popolowski, Chestnut Avenue in Oakville, Connecticut. Back in October 2025, Town Council, Town Manager, WSA all said that they wanted to stop the bleeding. But now you have cut us even deeper, and the wound again is now bleeding. To me, this is very cruel what you're doing to the ratepayers, because it's not the taxpayers. So, and I'm getting tired of hearing that get over it. It just seems to be a common theme with a lot of people. Can't get over it if you guys keep bringing it up.
Thank you. Next is Rich Zielinski. Who's this? Sorry.
Good evening. In regard to the engagement of legal counsel in the matters of the City of Waterbury and the Watertown Fire District, I offer the following comments. While there are valid reasons for the town to have legal counsel investigate these matters, there is a cost associated for this action that will be borne by the water and sewer ratepayers. With a billable rate of $475 per hour, the cost of this investigation will mount quickly, and it's likely to cost the ratepayers tens of thousands of dollars before it's determined if additional litigation is warranted. I would remind you that just because this legal team determines that Watertown has a sound basis for future litigation, careful study needs to be performed before such a decision is made. Even if Watertown has a legitimate legal basis to sue, neither the City of Waterbury nor the Watertown Fire District is likely to roll over without a fight. The cost of such a legal battle must be weighed against any potential financial benefit, knowing full well that there's no guarantee that Watertown would prevail in any lawsuit. The Town Council and WSA must be completely transparent about the costs and possible benefits of additional litigation. The ratepayers incurred over $500,000 in legal fees in the previous lawsuit with Waterbury, and were never made aware of the legal costs of that litigation. Town council members need to monitor the costs of this endeavor and ensure it is communicated openly to the public and not just in private executive sessions. Thank you.
Thank you. Last is Catherine Kamara.
Seems to be a theme going tonight, but I did not talk to anybody else about what they were going to say, and I'm going to just say what I have to say on the subject. Since you are going to consider engaging legal counsel at the taxpayer's expense, I would like the answer to a simple question. Of course, I know you won't answer me here tonight, but maybe we can get it on Facebook later. Harris Beach Mertha is proposing to research and investigate the proper methodology of calculating sewer rates based on water usage versus metered usage. Isn't that something that should have been done during the 5 years of litigation that ultimately cost the town approximately $36 million? How is it that our town attorney let 5 years of litigation go on without investigating the methodology for calculating rates? If it's wrong now, it's been wrong for years, and it was wrong all during the litigation. And that's when it should have been argued in court. So it sounds like a very costly missed opportunity, to say the least. You are supposed to represent the residents of Oakville and Watertown, so please stop ignoring the fact that residents no longer want to engage Paul Jessel as our town attorney. Aside from Michelle McHugh and Ken Demers, who else on the council has worked with Attorney Jessel personally? It certainly gives the impression of bias and questions the integrity of the council to handle this issue. After terrible legal advice, putting residents in debt for decades, the council needs to let the residents decide the fate of Attorney Jessel. You could put a survey online and see for yourself what the residents want. I don't know what you'd be afraid of. And I just want to add that I have emailed the WSA on February 9th regarding my present bill, and I've not got a response. I called today. I was on hold for too long. I had to hang up. So perhaps our town manager could talk to them. I mean, people have issues. We've got all this going on with WSA, and then you just ignore an email about the person's rates, and you wonder why we're upset. Thank you.
Moving on, do I have minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of the January 20th, 2026 regular meeting.
Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move to approve the minutes of the February 2nd, 2026 regular meeting.
Second. Any discussion, comments? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Chairman's report, I received a couple correspondence this past week. We had a resignation letter from Mario Mancini as a member of the Watertown Water and Sewer Authority, effective January 21st, 2026. Also an email from Wendy Osborne regarding safety concerns at the intersection of Route 6 and Middlebury Road. And also a notification from the town related to the number of electors and number of polling places that was dated February 3rd, 2026. We'll put that in our minutes. Staff reports, town manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just two quick topics. One is with the federal government not making pennies anymore, that's something that we're tracking. We're going to have to put a policy in place on actually how we're going to refund cash payments to our tax collector and other offices. So staff is pulling the information and we'll go with the guidelines set by the federal government. It'll be a rounding up or a rounding down depending on the point of sale. And then I would encourage you with the WSA budget coming up to go onto the WSA website, or I could have my office send you a copy of their packet. There's a lot of good information in there, how we actually came to build that budget. It would be helpful for you to understand that prior to us meeting for their budget review. I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate. I'll be doing the WSA budget as best I can. But there is a lot of information. So if you would be able to prep yourself, it would be helpful to ask the questions so we can move through that. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Finance Director?
Good evening, Honorable Chairman and council members. Just two things. We're still on track in the Finance Department to complete our 24-25 audit by the end of this month. And we're continuing to work on budgets that are presenting for upcoming meetings.
Thank you. And let's do that now. Back to the agenda.
I move to add to the agenda under item 8, subcommittee budget review, the police, animal control, and communications department's budget.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. And then we'll continue with our budget reviews, starting with the town clerk.
Good evening, Lisa Dalton, Town Clerk. Your packet has the town clerk budget with an error in it. There's a shift in the line item. I think an error, photographic services was left blank and it sort of shifted from there down. So if you don't mind, if you can refer to the handout that I gave you. I'm an office of 3 people, myself, an assistant clerk, and an admin assistant. Both assistant town clerk and admin assistant are white collar employees. We reduced the overtime line item from 1,000 to 400. We generally save that for the presidential election and with the unknowns of early voting. During early voting, the 14 days, the town clerk has to house the ballots at night, so I come back. So there's a little overtime in there for staff just in case I wasn't able to come. So I just brought that down to 400 because we hadn't used that full amount in the last fiscal year. And the next line item is training meetings without travel. That is remaining the same at 3445. Photographic services, we are going to be converging to a new platform for our land records. This is a much better system than the current one we have. So I shifted a little bit between the photographic services and maintenance agreements. Those two, it better reflects the description of what we do within those line items. Legal and fiscal services, that's just a simple $50 line item. If we have to pay the city of Waterbury for vital copies, it's $2 after the first 13. It generally comes to close to $50. Mileage allowance remains the same. Memberships, minus $60 because we do not have anyone whose notary is up this time around. And office supplies remains the same as well. So overall, aside from the salaries, it's a $545 increase that I am asking for. And then I also supplied to you revenue comparisons because our office does take in some revenue. And I do project that we will come somewhat close to where we were for the year. I judge it by calendar year because it's easier for me to judge the amount of recordings we come in and whatnot for the calendar year. So we should be fairly close to the previous fiscal year and the calendar year as well. I am going to be applying soon for a grant. This grant will take some of our vital records that are bound from 1910 to 1920 in a stitch form. Very difficult for us to issue certified copies from. So hopefully I will be awarded that grant and we will work on that and hopefully in the future continue because there are years in the 40s that they also bound them sewn wise. And with that said, I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Does anyone have any questions? Seeing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have a building inspection.
Jeff Biolo, building official. Good afternoon, council. As you see, my proposed budget in front of you, it pretty much remained the same. I'll go down. Building official salary went up because I went from a supervisor to a department head. And another line item for an assistant building official, which we hired a permanent assistant building official. All right, my administrative assistant stays the same. Vehicle maintenance, I brought down from 3,000 to 2,000, mainly because we received a new car and we have one older one and one new one, so the maintenance on the new car will be nothing. So we brought that down $1,000. Office copier remains the same. Training materials remain the same. Training materials with travel remain the same. Printing and binding, we took 300 off because there really isn't any anymore. It's just the only printing we do is basically just for cards. So there's no more binding and stuff like that. So we brought that down. Memberships came down to 300. One of the memberships that we have, LCBOA, they went down. So it's the memberships consist of for myself and my assistant, and 300 will cover it for the year. So that went down. Office supplies, same, being that everything is more digitized now. We don't need as many office supplies as we've ever had before. Reference materials went from 1,000 to 3,000, being our code cycle is changing in probably July or August, which requires all new reference materials, all new books for our department. And it will run, they're expensive. They're too expensive, but that's why that went up from 1 to 2. That'll happen every 3 or 4 years. Equipment and parts remain the same. Vehicles, that's our new vehicle is $10,000 per year. That's what I think it's paid in 3 years. Software went from 12,500 to 13,950. Now that software consists of Municity, which is our permitting system, which is basically, that's what we use. It's also, what is in there is, excuse me for 1 second. What's in there also, the permitting system is 5,500, and what's in there is also integration with our permitting system and what we use, Q Alert, which when you go online and you put in a complaint or a blight, stuff like that, it'll integrate the two, so it immediately goes to the parcel, which sometimes gets skipped. What that does is when people call in for a parcel report, if they're selling their house, if they're refinancing, stuff like that, permit activities on there. And if permits are open, they need them, lawyers want them closed. That will put any complaint, blight, until it's closed, directly into the property card, which helps all departments out. It helps us out. It helps out any department that deals with blight. So that integration is $7,000. That's why I'm adding that in there. Okay, for the integration. And then 1,450 would be for it's called upcodes. Same thing. It's our online codes. Makes life a little easier doing stuff on, going online and flipping through the books. And then one last thing it's a new line item, and it's for a blueprint scanner. Okay, and I'm asking for 2,641. Again, what that's going to do is someone brings in hard copies of prints. We like to digitize them. It's easier to do plan review on a big screen than to do them on paper anymore, to go back and forth. So that will take any hard copies, scan them, digitizes them into our system. A second reason for that is I'd like to start digitizing all of our archived files, all of our archived prints. There's thousands. We, by law, by state statute, have to keep any public building, municipal building, or commercial building prints forever. So there's a lot. They're tucked away downstairs, and there's a lot of them. So I'd like to start doing that, to digitizing them. And it makes, because people do come in and ask for them if they're doing projects on an older commercial building. And sometimes you go to get them and they're these giant rolls and they're falling apart. If we can digitize them, it'll make life a lot easier for for the public. That's really about it. That's it. Any questions for me?
Questions? I just had one quick question. Can I assume that in the past, we've never had a scanner that could do blueprints, do that size?
In the building department?
Yeah.
No, we never have. This will be the first, this will be the first time, yeah.
Do we have any others in the town? In the,
Engineering has one. They have a
Engineering.
plotter, but it's a much more sophisticated, it's a much more sophisticated thing.
Mhm.
It's a plotter, printer, all that. This is just a strictly scan them in, digitize them, and, put them in the computer, and probably put them in some sort of, have to get some software to put them in to organize them.
Makes sense. Any other comments or discussion? Thank you very much.
Thanks.
And next we have the Historic District.
I'll just stay here. The historic district, for the budget for that is very small. Nothing has really changed. Basically for printing and binding and for the advertising and memberships, that's all we do. What the historic district does is if a application for building, remodeling, anything for a house that's in the historic district, which there's I don't know if you got, there's a list of homes in Watertown that are historic homes, and you can't change a lot of things. Okay, so what it is permit comes in, we check to make sure if it's in historic district. If it is in historic district, then we call the historic district. They look into it, see what they can and can't do. And if there's changes that have to be made and they appeal that, it has to go into, it goes into a hearing and all that kind of stuff. But it very rarely happens, but it does happen sometimes. But the budget just remains the same as last year.
Any questions on that? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have land use. Starting with,
So, Mr. Chairman, just to introduce our new land use administrator, Spencer Musselman. He started, I believe, January 20th, 21st. He's been on the job 3 or 4 weeks, but he comes with a tremendous amount of experience from other locations, other towns.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good evening, council. My name is Spencer Musselman. I'm the land use administrator for the town of Watertown. Our largest change this year is really budgeting for the POCAD for 2027. We're requesting $50,000 towards that and $50,000 next year towards that as well. We're estimating about $100,000 to the plan based on preliminary estimates. Of course, we'd like to be that lower once we go out to bid for it. But without the POCAD, we'd have a decrease of 1.73%, or down $5,779 year over year. With the POCAD, we're looking for a 13.24% increase, or $44,221. Without the POCAD, we have decreases due to salary changes, the removal of a budget for office furniture, and as well as decreases of mileage allowance, printing, and vehicle maintenance line items. Since we have a new car as well, like the building department, we do not need much for maintenance in that case. I believe those are the only changes. For printing and binding, we're going from $750 to $500. For vehicle maintenance, we're going for $3,000 to $1,000 for next year. And for mileage allowance, we're going from $300 to $100 for next year. The POCD process is a 2-year process. We're looking to start in July and working in earnest on it by the latest January of next year. And we need to have it done by December of 2027.
Mr. Musselman, can you just give a little intro to what the POCD, to refresh everybody's memory?
Yes, so it's a 10-year plan the town has to do, bringing in all the stakeholders. It's led by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Town Council, and we work to establish our goals for the next 10 years, to reevaluate the last 10 years of growth and development in Watertown and see what needs to be changed, modified, or maybe what's worked and what we need to really drive home for the next 10 years. Obviously, things have changed a lot since COVID, so there's definitely going to be some definite change in the plan. However, we do believe we have a good plan that doesn't need to do a full rewrite. So we believe, I would hope we're looking more at this lower end of the scale at $70,000 to the plan rewrite. But we'll be going out to do some preliminary bids the next few months. I know services like the COG, there's also many other private entities that do POCD rewrites. So I'll be bringing more information to the council in the coming months on this.
And that's required every 10 years?
Every 10 years, yes. and your discretionary funding is tied to having that in place from the state.
Any questions or discussion?
Through the
Okay.
chair. So the state requires
The
all the
state does,
municipalities to do this every 10 years.
right, every 10 years.
Okay.
There is a housing affordability plan that's required every 5 years. However, with the new Housing Bill 8002, that's been rescinded. And the COG has to produce a plan by 2028. The town will have to review then and decide whether we want to sign on to that or not. And if we don't like that plan, we have to establish our own in 2028. So luckily, that does take some of the responsibility away from the town every 5 years.
And this goes back 10 years, but do we recall how much we spent 10 years ago by any chance? It was in the same ballpark.
I believe it was in the $60,000 range.
I think it's between 40 and 60.
Okay.
I remember a lot of different meetings and displays and other stuff.
I don't know why it's gone up so much in the last 10 years, but it really has. I used to work in Litchfield and we got estimates of 120,000 for a much smaller town. So hopefully we can use the good base we have now of this plan and try to reduce the amount overall.
One more question. I'm just wondering about the overtime. Why is overtime accrued and
Yes, so land use is kind of unique in having so many commissions we had to work with. So we have 2 staff members that are present at all those meetings, including Carol and Cameron, and they go to all the wetlands, the zoning, the ZBA, and as well as historic district meetings.
Okay.
So unfortunately, it does occur quite a bit over the years.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
And that covered the inland wetland zoning and planning. And then next on the agenda that we added is police department.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of Town Council, Town Manager Ramo. It's my honor to present to you the proposed budget for the Watertown Police Department for fiscal year 26-27. As you probably recall, we have 6 different budgets that we are caretakers for at the police department. The administrative budget, the patrol detective budget, maintenance and support, traffic, animal control, and communications. And I'll go into any differences between last year and this year in each of those budgets in upcoming slides. Just drawing the attention to the totals at the bottom. The proposed budget here is a 4% increase over last year, which is $278,346, bringing the proposed budget total to $7,080,329. Breaking that apart, we've stayed pretty consistent over the last number of years between what the amount of that money is personnel expenses as opposed to equipment and all other expenses such as maintenance agreements, et cetera. 88% of that total value is directly related to the personnel costs, that salary and other contractual obligations. The $869,286 is everything else besides personnel costs. That's our cars, all of our maintenance agreements, all of the equipment that we purchase, et cetera. So diving directly into the administrative budget, this budget, we're looking at a $48,274 increase over last year. That's almost 7% over last year. The drivers that are causing that, one, our white collar employees are getting a 2.75% raise on July 1st. The crossing guards minimum wage has gone up. So we're looking at close to a 60-cent increase. That adds about $4,000 onto the salary line item for crossing guards. And where the biggest difference is in our maintenance agreement section, our gray key forensic software, which costs about $13,350 annually. We will likely be able to reduce that number by 50% I budgeted for the full amount, but unfortunately, we don't hear by the time of this meeting whether or not we're getting awarded a grant to cover 50% of the cost of that software. We are very hopeful we're going to get it. We may get the full 50%. We may only get 25%, or we may get none. But I'm very hopeful we'll get the 50% again, which is roughly $6,500. That Gray Key forensic software is what allows our detective bureau, specifically Detective Mark Conway, who's our digital forensic examiner, to be able to examine digital evidence in a secure manner to be able to use as evidence in court. And it also allows us to break in through passwords in many types of devices. Also, the license, we've added 6 additional license plate reader cameras throughout the town this past year. They were paid for through ARPA funding. But we do have to pay licensing fees now annually for those 6 cameras, and that's roughly $5,000 per year. And we've also allocated in this proposed budget $20,000 to cover a partial purchase of a new police drone. We currently have a drone that we received, I want to say it was either 2017 or 2018, as a gift from a local civic group here in town. It's made by DJI, which is a Chinese firm. And if you've been following the state legislature this past year, they have banned the use of Chinese drones for law enforcement purposes effective 2028. So our drone will become useless at that time. It'll be illegal for us to use it. And it is, as grateful as we were for that piece of equipment, it is just a commercial grade drone that's already quite aged at this time. And all it is a drone with a basic camera on it. So it doesn't have the functionality that we'd be looking for in law enforcement, which would be lighting, it would be heat detection, it would be the ability to track a vehicle or a person. Just to bring a highlight, a particular situation we had a couple months ago where we were fortunate enough to have a neighboring town be able to bring their drone out for us. We had a barricaded subject in a residence who had strapped several guns to his body and had told people that he would kill any law enforcement that came to the house. So we set up a perimeter and we were able to fly a drone to the window and make contact with this person at the window through these drones have two-way communication ability on them, where we can speak through the drone to the person. The drone has a microphone on it that can pick up that person, and through the use of that drone, he was able to surrender peacefully, and being able to spend a few dollars on a drone to potentially save lives, I think is well worth the money. These drones generally can cost between $40,000 and $60,000 for a good law enforcement drone. It's more than a police car, which I think is crazy, but that is what they cost. 20,000 would be probably, we'd get a 3-year contract to purchase the drone, and this would be for an initial payment. Any questions on the administrative budget before I move on to patrol detective?
Through the chair. About the drone, who would pilot the drone, and is there training costs associated with that?
There are. We currently have 2 licensed pilots through the FAA.
Okay.
I'd be probably looking to get 1 or 2 more additionally trained, and that would be just through our normal training budget that we'd be able to accommodate that.
Do they get paid more for that?
They do not, but if they get called out to use the drone off duty, they would be compensated through overtime.
Okay. And the heat detection, is that constitutional? I thought that was a warrantless search.
So, this would be more for search and rescue
Okay.
than it would be for serving warrants. But if we did have a warrant, then we could use the heat detection. But if we're talking about just for doing surveillance and things along that line, it wouldn't be used for that purpose generally.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
And Chief, do we have any ideas for an alternate use for the current drone? maybe even some other department within town?
I could certainly confer with the town manager on that, because as long as it's not used for law enforcement purposes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep.
I was gonna say DJI drones are kind of, to me, kind of like the gold standard. They are very good drones. Just out of curiosity, is there a brand that you guys have in mind for the new drone? If we're not able to use DJI?
So we're shopping around right now. I'm still dazed by sticker shock on what these things cost. One of the very first one we looked at was through Axon, which is the company that all of our body cameras are through. And, you know, that this was the gold standard in drones because it would have been compatible with all of our current body cameras and software, and, you know, would have been controlled through cellular connection rather than an antenna and a control pad. But they were looking at about $120-something thousand. So I said,
Need a
that's a
bigger
little
grant for
too
that.
much for the town of Watertown. So other ones include Skydio, Flock. Do you remember some of the other brands? We haven't settled on one yet. We're still shopping.
Yeah. Thank you.
So
Any other questions on this part? Yeah.
moving on to the patrol detective budget. This is the budget that, the biggest item here is just simply salaries for all of our sworn personnel. We're looking at a 3.75% increase, which is roughly $185,000. We're not requesting any additional staff, and there's no wage increase that's included in this number because they're still in negotiations right now. The current collective bargaining agreement that we're working under expired June 30th of 2025. We are hopeful that a successor agreement will be reached in the very soon. But we are including roughly about $70,000 here just in step increases. We have a huge portion of our patrol officers that are moving up a step in pay in this fiscal year. So it's 70,000 just there. I did put in 2.5% for more for overtime, anticipating that there will most likely be a raise for our sworn personnel. That has to reflect also in overtime, as it costs more in overtime as well. The vehicle purchase this year, I did request 2 patrol vehicles and 1 support pickup truck and 1 administrative vehicle. The 2 patrol vehicles is a minimum to keep our patrol fleet viable on about an 8-year schedule per patrol car. By the time 8 years comes, we're roughly 100,000 miles and many, many more engine hours on a patrol car, and they get retired generally to our extra duty fleet at that time. The pickup truck would be for various purposes. Our support services sergeant would be the primary user. He's in charge of maintaining the building and the fleet. He has to go pick up tires, for example, a lot, other parts and equipment and things along that line. And it would also be used for traffic purposes, special events like Memorial Day Parade, et cetera, to assist in moving barriers and cones around, things along that line. And the administrative vehicles, many of our detective vehicles are now over 10 years old, and these would be set up to start replacing out some of the detective vehicles through attrition. As far as equipment is concerned, we're looking at about a $20,000 increase in equipment costs. You're going to see the ERT acronym throughout a lot of our equipment requests this particular fiscal year. That's Emergency Response Team. We have 3 members of the Watertown Police Department that are assigned to the Waterbury Regional Emergency Response Team. This is the team that comes out for any major incidents where we may have a hostage being held or an armed robbery, and we have a suspect that's needs to be taken into custody and are held up in a residence or a building. It may be for a high-risk warrant service that we would utilize this team. And through the command staff at the Waterbury Police Department, they are requesting that all of the members get an equipment upgrade and refresh, which hasn't been done in a very long time. That includes night vision goggles. It's about $8,000 per set of goggles, and we have 3 members, so we're looking at $24,000 right there. On-gun lasers, $7,500, and laser mounts, about $1,500. We also will likely be hiring 3 new hires in the next year, not new additional staff, but to replace retirements. And we do have 6 sets of expiring body armor, which would cost roughly $6,000. I budget for the full amount of body armor, but we have a grant that always gives 50% of that back. It just always comes after the fiscal year. So we budget for the full amount. When the half comes back, it goes into the general fund. Any questions on patrol detective budget?
Through the chair? Yeah. Chief, thank you for this. So the overtime line, I just, 24, 25, we had overtime expenses of 456,000. And so far this year, we have overtime expenses of 259. So when I calculate that out, that puts us on course to have overtime expenses of about 445,000 this year. And so you're setting the overtime budget line at 386. And I'm just wondering, like, if the last 2 years were in the mid fours, is that enough?
So the additional funds that you're seeing in that line item are coming through grants that get allocated into the overtime line item, like distracted driving, DUI, railroad speed enforcement, things along that line. We put it on the agenda quite often, asking the council to allocate the reimbursement funds into the overtime line item. And
Awesome.
that increases that total number.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great.
Questions?
And related to overtime, I know maybe a year or 2 ago, we were switching to a different system where like kind of the administrative side of extra duty was being sent to a third party. How's that working out compared to?
Absolutely fantastic. I love it. The officers love it. I think our payroll clerk loves it. Certainly freed up a lot of time for the payroll clerk at town hall. Everything is done through an app now. Jobs are bid through the app. The private extra duty company bears all the risk in collections, and they're pretty aggressive at that. So it's been great.
Any questions?
Yeah, through the chair. And that's a revenue generator for the town too, correct?
It is. In fact, you'll see on a slide later, the town received about $250,000 in revenue through extra duty every year.
Thank you.
Welcome. Our maintenance support budget, it's kind of a catch-all budget for various different entities at the police department. We're actually seeing a 2.5% decrease in the overall number in our maintenance support budget this year. That's about $6,000 less than last year. Some of the differences in this particular account, we are looking at adding another $3,000 in motor vehicle maintenance. It's amazing to me the amount of money we are putting into keeping our fleet maintained. Everything has gotten so expensive. Just doing a new transmission on a vehicle now it can be $5,000 or $6,000. And, we always have at least 1 or 2 transmissions that we're replacing per year on top of that. This is for everything from windshield wipers to new tires for all the vehicles, and, anything to do with the fleet is from this line item, and we go through it relatively quickly. As far as the other equipment line item, looking for a $3,400 increase. Again, the red dot sites for ERT members. I was just trying to divide the expenses up between a couple different accounts so it didn't all bear the cost in one line item. And 2 new patrol shotguns at the cost of $2,460 total. Also looking to establish a new line item in this budget for electrical expenses at the new firing range. So we did complete the construction of a new firing range up off Old Baird Road, past the animal control facility. That was budgeted in last year's budget. Thank you very much for that. I'll show you a picture in a moment of what it looks like. But we do have a new electrical service that got hooked up there. I'm estimating about maybe $600 a year. find out better next year about what it's actually going to cost, but we use very minimal electricity there. It's primarily for night shooting to have lighting. So the overall decrease in this budget was primarily due to the fact that the firing range construction costs were budgeted in this last year, and that was able to be removed. And this is what the range looks like. This is past the animal control facility. A couple of our officers actually did all the construction here with the assistance of Public Works. So did not have to hire a contractor or anybody else. We did it all in-house. There's a concrete patio with a roof over it. Underneath the roof, we have lighting and some fans to try to particularly to keep the bugs out of there in the summer. And there's a metal Connex storage box there. Electric service was hooked up. We have lighting and electrical service inside that Connex box. You can see on the utility pole that's there. There's two high intensity lights mounted that light up the entire range at night, so we can do night shooting. So it's the first time we've ever been able to go out and actually do night shooting and have a facility that we're able to use. So came out good. Any questions on maintenance or support?
Through the chair, do you offer this building to other communities around us?
Not generally, no, but the Waterbury Emergency Response Team does come up and use it from time to time if their range is busy. But we don't take on the liability of anyone else using the range.
Thank
Anyone else? Just out of curiosity, related to the vehicle maintenance, how much of that is done in-house versus sending the cars out to a third party for, changing tires or
The
whatever the maintenance might be?
only thing we do in-house is windshield wipers and windshield wiper fluid.
Okay.
We don't have the facility to do anything else in-house.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
No one else?
The chief left the easier ones for me, so. Um, our next budget is our traffic budget. There is a 8%, 8.3% increase in this one, and it's primarily due to the cost of electricity to operate the traffic signals and the LPR cameras in town. Due to the fact that we have 6 additional ones, we have electricity for 6 additional, which we added last year. I told you it was the easier one. Any questions?
Am I allowed to ask how many LPR cameras we have?
16 now?
Yeah.
16.
And through the chair, has anybody ever looked into solar for these?
So the first 10 that we got, if you recall back when we had that gang-related shooting on Kimberly Avenue in 2021, we entered into a contract with Recor to install 10 cameras. It was a sweetheart deal that Recor was looking to get into this area. It was a new product. And we were able to lease those 10 cameras at a cost of $12,000 a year total, all expenses covered in that number. That's cellular connectivity, the mounting of them on utility poles. At that time, Eversource was allowing us to mount them on utility poles and was doing a direct hookup on those utility poles of electricity, in which they were just giving us a flat rate of, it was like $10 a month or so per camera. Those deals are long gone now. So when that lease is up and whenever we have to redo cameras, solar is definitely going to be looked at, because whatever source is now requiring us to do is put these cameras on our own poles and do a separate service for each camera with a meter. And there's that would be a minimum of like $60. Exactly. So we'd be looking into solar at that time. But when we did these originally, it was cheaper to go with a direct hookup to power.
Our next one is the animal control budget. This has a 36% increase of $36,921. This is primarily due to the fact that we have changed over the model of the second animal control officer, the assistant, to be full-time. Previously, we ran a full-time and a part-time, and then we came to the council and town manager, and we hired a second full-time. We had Emily, so we had 2 full-time animal control officers. Our primary one retired in February of 2025. And at that time, we brought it back down to a part-time animal control officer. We attempted to hire 4 different hiring times. We gave out multiple conditional offers. We hired one who lasted maybe 2 months. It's very difficult because we say to them, you know, you're going to work 20 hours a week and you're going to work only on the weekends. So you can never have a day off because our other animal control officer works Monday through Friday. So it was very difficult to find a person who could do the task, who could do everything that our current animal control officer does with a schedule that is really not conducive to any sort of, you know, quality of life at home and if you have kids and things like that. So after multiple failed attempts and our current animal control officer working every single day since February because we've had 2 large seizures of hoarding cases, we have multiple animals, things that we had not seen in years past. The animals require staff every single day. We had puppies, that's 2 times a day of feeding. So we went back to the town manager and we are now putting in for a full-time animal control officer. So that is the difference in the salary that it's gonna cost to have he or she full-time. I will say we just posted it and with the full-time status being posted, I have 24 applications. More applications for animal control than for entry-level police officer, which is wild and upsetting, but it's good for animal control. So there's a $2,500 increase in the overtime, and we have to increase our veterinary line just due to the increase of volume of animals. That line I think is at 0.
Oh, yeah.
And
They're on the 3rd week of July.
so thankfully we have a wonderful community. We have a lot of donations that come in and we have to pull from the donation line in order to do veterinary services. Any questions on that one?
Do we do any spaying and neutering?
We do. So depending on the circumstance, like this last hoarding case, we did spay and neuter all those animals before they were going back out. We do get, if you adopt through us, we get some vouchers that we're able to pass on to the individual who is adopting the animal. But there are cases where due to a multitude of reasons, it benefits us to spay or neuter prior to adopting out.
Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair. So this isn't really a 38% increase, though. I think it's less because the overtime line goes down significantly in animal control here.
That number is strictly comparing to the actual budget from last year, not what we're finishing at,
Right.
but what was actually allocated.
Yeah. So, okay, right, because you're saving $6,000 in the overtime line and the animal control, it looks like.
Yeah,
Right.
the overtime, you know, because it's going to balance out with that we haven't been paying an assistant animal control officer at all either. So that is almost entire amount that was budgeted for salary for the assistant animal control officer is going to have to balance out the overtime line.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, great, good for you. Any other questions?
Yeah, through the chair. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Over the last 3 years, I think I've been saying that this is one line item that I think that really we should be looking at consolidating with other towns and starting really aggressively looking at a Thomaston or a Middlebury, and maybe they could close theirs and we could all save some money by consolidating. And I think somebody really, really, really needs to take a look at this because we can't just continue to spend money and raise our taxes. We have to do something different. So I urge you to look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, we do have an agreement with Thomaston where we do get some revenue in from the town of Thomaston, and we provide coverage for that town during daytime hours, Monday through Friday.
Anyways.
Our next budget is the communication budget with an increase of 1.68% for $13,785 increase. Pay raises are not included there. We're currently in negotiations for their collective bargaining agreement as well, which expired June 30th of 2025. Our new staffing model is working well. We have 9 full-time dispatchers. We're fully staffed. We have 1 full-time supervisor that has been hired and will start March I think 3rd, she will be starting. So we're looking forward to filling that again. And the part-time line item did increase by $2,000 for per diem staff. So we do keep 3 per diem staff on, but we have seen a substantial decrease in overtime recently due to the fact that with no one taking time off, there's always individuals working. And so we only need to use those per diems if someone has a sick day or a vacation day that are planned ahead. The overtime is a 2.75 increase, again, due to proposed salary rate, oh my God, why can't I think of the word? Raises, there we go. The same with holiday pay, because once they get a raise, the holiday pay increases. Maintenance agreement, $5,000 from the BlackRock connectivity, which is through Frontier, which is part of our upgrade, but we will have the connectivity for the year that we have to budget. Electricity, we have new service at both BlackRock and Judd Farm radio sites, which is a $2,400 increase. And we are proposing in the contract and requesting $3,000 to purchase uniform shirts for the dispatchers. That's the first person you see when you come into the police department. And we really want like a uniform, just a polo, but just gives a little bit of semblance of everyone is, kind of here, and it's a little bit more professional. And we would like to have that in the communications room. Any questions?
Just quick question related to the bargaining agreements. How many of them are open related to the police department right now? Is it
Police and communications, yeah, just 2.
2? And we're thinking in a couple months, we'll hopefully have those signed off on, hopefully.
We anticipate that we'll be bringing police and highway to you, hopefully the beginning of March. Communications, we're still working on that. But I anticipate we'll probably have that finished up by the end of March.
Yeah, thank you.
Through the chair, what's the primary driver of overtime in communications?
It's if when individuals take time off, and we just we had somebody leave, so we just hired another full-timer who completed her training in December. So the 3 months that she was on training, all of that shift that she was going to fill was all overtime, because we don't have anybody. We do have the per diems who do go in as straight time, but that's a big factor. Really, it's just filling shifts, making sure we have 2 individuals, dispatching at all time on all 3 shifts.
Would it be worthwhile to add another full-time dispatcher and drop the overtime? I mean, financially?
We don't, go ahead. The staffing model doesn't, they're currently a 5-2, 5-2, 5-2, 5-3 model, and we're looking to change that in this current contract, and that will allow, the 9 will allow 3 to be assigned to each shift, and as long as nobody takes time off, there will always be a rotation where 2 is on. If we hired an additional one, we don't have enough call volume to have 3 there all the time. So it would be a resource that wouldn't be utilized as best as it could be.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely, we did consider that, because it would be a bench player in essence, where if somebody retired or resigned or was let go, we'd have somebody right there, and we wouldn't have to be spending that overtime. But it's a gamble in any given year, where the town may lose on that gamble or may not, depending on whether or not we actually end up with a vacancy. Is when we do end up with a vacancy, it is expensive, because we don't have a bench player, and it becomes entirely an overtime function that we try to use our per diems as much as possible, but oftentimes it gets filled up on overtime throughout the entire hiring process and the training. The training's a minimum of 3 months, so it takes a while.
Thank you.
Through the chair. Maintenance agreements. The maintenance agreements wouldn't be going down because we have brand new communication equipment?
Oh, boy. I think in another year or two, we may end up with a little bit of sticker shock and seeing what the maintenance agreement on a brand new $5 million communication system looks like. I think it's going to go way up, to be honest. This in particular right now is because we have made our radio system a little more robust and filled in our dead zones in the past. We added an additional tower site at Black Rock Dam in Thomaston to cover the whole Black Rock State Park and the Mattatuck State Forest, as well as a lot of the kind of the northeast corner of town. but that requires a fiber optic connection. So the expense you see here for $5,000 is to cover that fiber optic connection to that
Okay.
particular tower site.
Thank you.
You want to do revenue?
Regarding revenue, we'll put up here what our actual numbers from the fiscal year 24-25 actually were, because that was the last full fiscal year that has gone by us. Driving while intoxicated, usually bring in, somewhere around $25,000 in reimbursed overtime funds. That's what this looks like. So that's the money that is going into the overtime account. This is to put officers out there, specifically targeting DUI operators. Distracted driving was $15,000. Click it or ticket, roughly $7,000. The rural road speed enforcement grant, we brought in, took in almost $45,000. The crime suppression was an ARPA funds that was handed out by the state to particular targeted enforcement, primarily to combat the stolen vehicle problem that we were having. But that money is no longer available. And the Barty Armor grant varies every year depending on how many vests we have expiring. Every bulletproof vest has a 5-year lifespan. After that, it has to get replaced. And we have 50 of those. The federal government pays for 50% of every vest. Permits and reports, we bring in anywhere usually between $20,000 and $25,000 a year. And of course, the extra duty is in that $250,000 a year area. Any questions on revenue?
The line item for the permits and reports, what exactly is included in that?
Any town vendor permits, solicitor permits, firearm permits, all reports, FOI, anything else coming to mind? Accident reports, anything through the records room.
Yeah. Any other questions on that?
So what did we do in 2025 with your support? We handled 30,136 incident numbers. That was a 7,000 increase over the year before. I can't say that we were necessarily that much busier than the year before, but we did change the way we pull incident numbers for things like deterrent patrol runs and things along that line. So we're just documenting our activity a lot better than we had in the past. We have school resource officers at both Watertown High School and at Swift Middle School. We've been patrolling all of the 188 miles of state and local roadways here in town, conducted over 3,300 motor vehicle stops, issuing over 2,500 traffic citations. We have a task force officer in the Regional Violent Crime Task Force that's run out of Waterbury and supervised by the state police, which brings a lot back to this community. We built a new firing range off Old Baird Road, as you saw in the photos. We continue our partnership with the Litchfield County Opioid Task Force. I'm very proud to say that here in Watertown, we remain a leader in the state and even in the region for the manner in which we respond to and follow up on opioid-related drug overdoses and in dealing with persons who have substance use disorder. So it's a wonderful program that's been very well received. We're fully staffed at 42 officers, 10 full-time dispatchers, hopefully we'll have 2 animal control officers very soon. And we're coordinating the build out of a $5 million town-wide radio system upgrade. So I'd like to thank all the members of the town council for your support and to the community. It's always our pleasure to provide service here in the town of Watertown and Oakville. Any questions?
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
New business?
Mhm. I move to authorize the town manager to execute an agreement with Harris Beach Murtha Attorneys at Law to provide legal representation in connection with the dispute involving the City of Waterbury, Watertown Fire District, and with Fiandella, Malone, and La Sorrentina LLP, to provide accounting and financial advisory services related to billing analysis, financial revenue, financial review, and support associated with this matter.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion.
A couple points. I agree that the sewer usage calculation absolutely needs to be looked at. I think that it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe that the town attorney has attempted to discuss this issue with Waterbury yet. I think we're kind of rushing ahead to pay attorneys for $175 an hour to take a look at this when we haven't tried to open conversation yet. Also, I have to say that I am against hiring the same firm that just gave us advice that cost us many millions of dollars in interest. The interest rates that were within the judgment have already been reviewed by the initial judge and then the 3 appellate judges. I think we're throwing good money after bad.
Anyone else? Dan?
Yeah, thank you. So, Karina, I really appreciate those points and those certainly are, concerns that I've given some thought to as well. I think one of my thoughts is the firm. And speaking with, a member of our Water and Sewer Committee who's in the industry, has a lot of respect for the firm and believes that they can do a high quality job. And the rate is within the range of the going rate. That and having a conversation with him about it helped me come to terms a little more clearly with those two questions around rate and firm. But additionally, I think the monitoring of cost and, you know, Mr. Rosansky, I heard you say this in your opening comments, is something that I was thinking about as well. And I'm not comfortable with us saying, yes, we want to hire you and come back in 90 or 120 days and tell us where you are. I'm much more comfortable with a tighter leash. And so I think if we're gonna move forward, we have to establish what that tighter leash looks like. Is that monthly reporting? Is that reporting based on a certain dollar amount billed? If we could look at that kind of structure that puts us with our thumb on the scale as the town council, that we can share with the public in the forum so everyone's informed, then yeah, I think it might be an okay thing to do. Thank you. Any other?
Through the chair, I do agree with Dan. I had the same concerns as Karina about hiring the same firm. Those concerns have been assuaged. The 2 attorneys who represented us are no longer with the firm. And I spoke with the same person as Dan did, who spoke very highly of the ability of the 2 attorneys and the forensic accountant to be able to provide us information. That being said, I agree. You know, we don't want to be in the hundreds of thousands of dollars again with legal bills. I agree that we should put a tight leash on it and have them do a little bit of research, present it to the town, obviously present it to the town council. And let's make sure that the money we spend is going to be worth it. Last thing we want to do is rack up large legal bills yet again.
Thank you. And just for the record, the contract is to more or less do the research behind the possible case. It's not the actual litigation per se, but it's kind of the groundwork that may or may not lead to that, or it might lead to, you know, negotiations with Waterbury relating to those subjects. Richard, you have?
That was my question, so thank you.
And Mark, do we have an estimate from the legal firm as far as what they believe the cost would be for this kind of phase of work?
So we talked about the $25,000 range, but when they initially gave us their scope of work, that was one of my concerns, and we discussed that. So we did did put a price point of $10,000 for them to invest. Yeah, I forget what the amount is, say it's $500 an hour. I think it's a little bit less than that. You know, it's 50 hours worth of work. They would come back to the council and either through a direct report or a presentation to the council to kind of give us an idea of where we're going. I would suggest if you're considering making a motion today that we certainly look at our relationship with the WFD, because we still have to resolve that. A lot of the issues that we have to work through on the WSA, the Watertown Sewer Authority, is going to play a lot in how we go to structure paying our bond, the conversion of the band. So there's a lot of plates in the air that we have to kind of understand that. So to push it off another month, I would encourage you to say, if we could come to some terms tonight, that we at least get them working on that WFD relationship so that we could understand where that goes. And at the same time, if you're in agreement, that $10,000 could be put towards developing a scope or a better understanding for those additional points. There's 5 points that we've kind of identified for them in the scope of work.
So I believe the contract itself said that they would be reporting back to us at every 10,000, and you're kind of recommending kind of start with 10,000 and kind of see where it goes. Is that?
Again, I believe that, and I apologize, I don't have my notes with me. I believe it was the $25,000 range. But again, I wanted to be able to establish an understanding of where we were heading. That $10,000 mark seemed like the appropriate price point to say, okay, this is growing legs, we're gonna move forward, or this doesn't make any sense. But in any sense, again, we have to at least figure out what to do with WFD. And how to approach them. And just as a reminder, we have discussed this with the Watertown Fire District. We've had some open discussions. They have an issue with the way Waterbury has billed us, which kind of opened up our scope of concern. So I think we owe it to the people, even though people may be upset by this. I think we owe it to explore this.
Thank you. Yeah.
Through the chair, can I just ask a clarifying question? So if we're voting on this motion, are we voting on $10,000 and then they come back and report?
We would have
or-
to amend the motion for that, but yes, that could be. The contract doesn't have that in there, but
Yes,
we can
right.
amend the motion that an agreement would have to include that if that was what was desired.
Okay.
Any other? Sure.
Exhibit A, it says, it lists 4 points: the appropriate methodology of calculations of any and all post-judgment interest rates relating to the judgment dated July 28, 2023, issued by the Connecticut Superior Court. The proper allocation of any principal and interest payments made to date on the judgment. Proper methodology of calculating sewer rates based on water usage versus metered usage or related issues. And then the proper calculation of rates levied against and paid by the Watertown Fire District or related issues. And then there's a catch-all, any other tasks assigned, and that assignment would come from the town council. And then it goes on to say interim progress reports during the course of our investigation of the foregoing. We will endeavor to provide you, or at your request, the town council with an update of our progress and interviews of approximately $10,000 in billed legal fees. It goes on and gives a little more choices. We could limit it at the 10,000 and report back and make a decision if that makes you feel more confident in moving this forward. And I would even suggest that, you know, maybe that the issue with the Watertown Fire District be our point, you know, that we'd like them to kind of start looking at that more directly. and then we could direct from there.
Is there a reason why you think we should start with that topic? That item?
My concern is this is more personal, knowing what we're going through at WSA and understanding, basically we had to deconstruct the budget. By doing that, we went over, the 5 to 7 year to look at our revenue. In doing that, our numbers were not in alignment, so we kind of recorrected the amount of usage by using a 6 to 7 year average. Once we actually understood what our usage was, we went back and looked at our budget. Our past superintendent was building a budget to look at increasing for all the projects that need to happen for us to keep our infrastructure. In doing that, it created a budget that did not actually reflect what was happening. So we had to deconstruct that budget, look at the past years, we reduced the numbers, and we didn't do anything for capital. So there's a lot of things that went on. To solve the WFD or to give us a direction will allow us to understand the impact to ratepayers as we start to go through this process over the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months to understand what that rate increase may or may not be. So again, I'd like to see all of it because I feel after all the discussions I've sat on and everything we've gone through, I think there's some valid points for us to look at. And I would suggest we don't shy away from this at this point.
Any other discussion?
Rob, I'd like to hear your thoughts.
I like the $10,000 cap. I want them to come back. What's going through my head is that they're gonna spend 10,000. You give them 10,000, you spend it, and what happens if they got something at 5,000? Are they gonna continue to go without reporting to us? I guess that's what's spinning through the back of my head, knowing what lawyers do.
Right.
So I'm in agreement with hiring them. I'm just trying to figure out how we do it in the most cost-effective way.
And is that putting a limit, 10,000 after 10,000?
So that's what I'm
needs to
sitting there
come
saying,
back
you
for
tell
another
them
vote?
10,000, are they just gonna spend 10,000? Right? How do we word that differently so it's not just a numeric, it's what they're finding? When do they come back to us? with something?
Through the chair, can we not say, you give us everything you've got, whatever we're working on, and at $10,000, we will make a decision whether or not we are going to proceed. That's it.
Yeah.
Do all of the work, and then we'll decide, are we going to go to 20 or are we not?
Mhm.
I mean, it makes sense. If we go to 25, if they
Yeah.
know we're going to 25, we're gonna hit the 10, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I just think for the town, we put in there 10,000, we're gonna say yay or nay.
That should be enough information.
It's 50 hours. It's a lot of hours.
I'm in agreement. I like that idea. It kind of gives us a chance to reset and understand how to move forward. I think the council, after everything we've been through with this issue, would give you the ability to understand how to move forward. So if you would adjust the motion to say that the 10,000 is going to be a reporting point, I will make that part of this exhibit, and then we could regroup after they've invested 50 hours.
Is there an amendment to the motion to include that? To have a maximum of $10,000 put into the contract?
I'll amend the motion. I move to authorize the town manager to execute an agreement with Harrison Beach Murtha Attorneys at Law at a maximum of $10,000 to provide legal representation in connection with the dispute involving the City of Waterbury, Watertown Fire District, and with Fiandella, Malone, and La Serencina LLP to provide accounting and financial advisory services related to billing analysis, financial review, and support associated with this matter.
And is there a second to amend the motion?
Second.
And do we have a vote to amend the motion?
Mr. Chairman, can I just add
Sorry.
some comment to that?
Sure.
So just so you're aware, the the billing for this is gonna come out of WSA. So tomorrow night, I'm gonna, you know, if you decided to approve this, I will approach WSA because as we talked about, you know, keeping our books straight and understanding where everything is coming and going from. Anything that we would regroup from this motion would have to go back to WSA.
Yep.
If we end up with a significant amount, the town may look back to see if there's anything that would have to go to the general fund. But at this point, a cursory look, we don't see anything like that. But if we keep all the expenses out of WSA, we'll put all the money back into WSA.
Correct. Any discussion on amending the motion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Is there any additional discussion on the amended motion?
Through the chair.
Rachel?
I guess, should we talk about the accounting firm and what we expect that they might be charging for their?
My understanding is the accounting firm is kind of at the direction of the law firm. As far as law firm, whatever filings, this is the proper way to calculate something, and the accountant would do the actual calculations.
I would say with the limit at 50 hours, we probably
Won't even touch.
won't even
Yeah.
get to the accountant. But if we did, I'll report back to the council that that activity is happening. And we'll keep it within that $10,000 cost.
Dan, did you have anything?
No,
Good?
yeah, good.
No one else?
Great.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 All-
Again,
What was it?
nothing.
Wait,
Oh,
I'm
oh.
sorry. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Are we voting to pass the amended motion? Was that the vote to pass? the
Oh, sorry, yes, we're still on the vote for the amendment, right? Yeah.
No, we passed.
we did
the-
that, so no,
the
just
amended
dash,
motion, so
yeah.
now we're voting on the amended motion.
Right.
Yes, okay.
So all in favor, please say aye.
I,
All opposed,
Opposed.
abstentions, motion passes. Moving on.
I move to approve the updated Town of Watertown organizational chart.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
through the chair.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what changed.
So I don't have my chart in front of me. I'll pull it out if I need to, but basically the only changes that were made is it realigned the water and sewer superintendent to be underneath Public Works. So when I first got here in 2020, our operation was that it was separated, but it was not on the organizational chart. We separated on the organizational chart and we went back to that model. So that change was made. And then we also documented that the town clerk is a appointed position in concurrence with the town manager and the town council.
Mhm.
So those are the two major changes. Do you remember anything else? I think those are the two changes we made, just to realign to actually what is happening. This does go into our audit, so we wanted to get it so it's appropriately stated.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing an appropriation from the general fund for tax refunds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed, abstentions, motion passes.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the payment of tax refunds.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, abstentions, motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Recording stopped.